One Piece chapter 1152 is here, and there's so much to it. I'm more than a little bit overwhelmed. A lot of implications, a lot of things to theorize and question and guess about, a lot that we don't fully understand yet, but there's a lot to come. So, starting with the start of the chapter. Gaban has just fallen, and Chopper with him. They are getting him medical care, and he is spouting some nonsense. So we have Gaban saying, make a mental note of how you use your color of the Supreme King. They are not immortal. So we've now gotten confirmation that they are actually not immortal, that there is a way to kill them, which of course there had to be. I mean, the story wouldn't end if they couldn't end, unless they're just gonna turn good, and probably not. So there had to be a way to defeat them, and now Gaban is beginning to tell Luffy what it is. Now, initial reading, it looks like kind of that really annoying writing, thing that happens where it's like, I'm going to give you a tiny bit of information that's actually really unhelpful to you, but is mysterious to the reader. And that's all. You could talk a little more, but reading this in the most generous light I possibly can, it is certainly possible that Gaban is starting to tell Luffy something, and he's like, they're not immortal, so be mindful of how you use your Supreme King haki. And Luffy's like, got it, kill her, because he's not the best listener. And then it clicks into place for Loki, and he goes, oh, okay, I know what needs done. I've been here before. I've traveled this road. He says, you've helped me see the sense of it, Gaban. I wasn't able to verbalize my own power. And in that case, I've experienced it for myself. The Holy Knights can be stopped. Now, obviously, at the end of the chapter, we see some crazy stuff going on, probably involving the Holy Knights. We'll get to it. But Loki's been here before. Loki has seen this. He's seen it with his own dad, and he's seen what is, I think he got involved last time too, and he didn't fully understand what happened last time, and it's something that we'll expand on in future chapters. But now that Gaban has explained that this is what it takes to take them down, they're not fully immortal as they may appear, then it's locked into place. I know what needs done. Free me. I can help fight this fight. Which, of course, his brother says, no! Absolutely not! You're an enemy to the country. You've been chained and condemned. Also, you killed her dad. No! Very reasonable. So Gaban, a very perceptive mentor-like figure, at least that's how he's being positioned in the arc, then says, aha! More than one of you has the Supreme King haki. And of course, Sanji gets all flustered and excited. He's like, it's me? Oh, good. Jinbei's already passed me with the bounty. And Zoro's always gaming for the spot of number 2. This is proof. Here I am. This is my place. And no. I know Sanji is kind of the punching bag of Oda sometimes, where he's all the time getting smacked down and humbled. It's one of his shticks, and I know it's not everyone's favorite. I personally do find it really funny, especially because Sanji clearly is incredibly powerful. He obviously is one of the wings of the Pirate King, or of their captain. He clearly is right there next to Zoro and can stand next to him. It's been proven again and again. He's an incredible fighter. He's an incredible defender. He's a man with a ton of heart. He just gets humbled a lot because that's part of the gag. Kind of like how part of Chopper's gag is to constantly get an embarrassingly low bounty, even though he's clearly more valuable than that. That's kind of the way I perceive Oda's humor around Sanji, is that Sanji's all the time like, kind of like Gaban, when they were like, wow, you're the number 3 of Roger. And Gaban's like, 2, I'm number 2. And Gaban and Sanji are being paralleled quite heavily. So Sanji also being like, aha, it's me! And then it turns out it's someone else. I don't know, I thought it was funny. Anyway, he looks right past Sanji, who's going on about, aha, I knew it would be me. And he's like, you, swordsman. And it's so funny too, because there's a humbling that happens to both of them. It's not just happening to Sanji, because Zoro's response is, what? And Luffy, who has fought alongside of him, who has watched him use it, he's like, what? How could you possibly not know? It's so obvious. which it is very Luffy to just see his swordsman having this extreme hockey and just being like, oh, killer, he learned how to use that too, that's awesome. And then to just move on and not have a chat about it, it feels very Luffy to me. But the point is, he does get humbled too, because Gaban chastises him. He's like, you've got to be kidding. You're the swordsman of your captain. Like, you play an important role. You're one of his higher ups that are supposed to be defending him, and you don't even know how to use this? Haki is a power that is only useful when you consciously control it. How do you expect to support your captain, an emperor of the sea, without knowing that? You know, like, Gaban has lived. He has had experience in battle and in serving someone who is very powerful and very important and goes up against very important foes. And he's looking at the swordsman of this crew and he's saying, what? You aren't even aware that you have this? How are you going to be what you need to be for him if you're not even cognizant of what you need to be using and how? So I understand that Sanji being a punching bag can be kind of annoying for people, but they both got humbled here. And clearly, this is actually something that I didn't see in my first read through, and one of my patrons pointed out to me, clearly, Sanji, something has happened when Sanji went to Gaban and said, okay, but what about me? And then you just see the close-up of Sanji as if something has been said. And again, Sanji and Gaban have been paralleled. It does seem like Gaban probably has some insight on him too and what kind of role he needs to be playing in this. And so I think we're going to see more. Yeah, so Hadrudan is very not interested in listening to any of this about Loki. I don't trust you. You've already betrayed us once. You're just going to do it again. No. Absolutely not. You more or less already did that once. How can I possibly trust you? Which again, from his perspective, fair. And it is so insane of Luffy to see this brotherly feud and all of this buried pain and anger that has been kept over all this period of time. These understandable grudge that's being hashed out right here in front of him. And then he turns to Loki and he's like, anyway, join my crew. Free him? Luffy asked Loki to join his crew. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm so happy about this because Luffy, well, I think this chapter basically clears Loki's name, at least in the eyes of the readers. It seems that, I mean, I do think that Loki is morally gray, and he certainly has, there's some grayness to him, but he did not kill his father in cold blood. Did he still kill his father? Maybe, but not in cold blood. Luffy can read people. He's seeing this conflict in front of him. He sees Gaban. Luffy even says, I see the whole country is against you. You don't have a lot of hope here. Come join me. I'll punch anyone that decides to bother you. And meanwhile, both Zoro and Sanji hilariously are thinking about it in the practical sense. They're thinking of the logistics. They're like, no, the boat can't support him. No, he'll eat too much food. Like, they're not even upset that I still don't know if this guy is going to kill us the moment he's free. They're just like, this is gonna be inconvenient. We're gonna have to figure out so many more logistics in order to make this work. Obviously, this is a bad idea. And Loki's just like, no! What? I don't know you. I don't want to be your henchman. Absolutely not. I do love that Hadrudan asked him, is that what your instinct tells you, Straw Hat? And Luffy's response with his adorable smile is, I want to see him fight. I do think that it's his instinct that's telling him, like, but it's so Luffy for his answer, for how he verbalizes his rationale to just be like, he's big. I bet he punches good. Gaban backs Loki as well, says go ahead and unlock his chains. We have more objections. Loki did. He killed all these soldiers. He hurt our chief. He slaughtered our own father. Tons of other crimes. He cannot be trusted. And then we prepare for the flashback. So Gaban tells him, all right, it's time to tell your story. It's time to tell your brother what actually happened. And it sounds like this is probably a little bit of a painful memory for Loki. Maybe the reason he hasn't told it up to this point is partially because he doesn't think anyone would believe him, because he was already, I think if I'm remembering correctly, he was already being blamed for a lot before this point. Like, he was blamed for his mother's death at birth. He was blamed for I can't remember, it was some random bad luck that was happening when he was like 8 years old or something like that. He was already disliked by Elbaf. That's my understanding, and I could be wrong. So maybe he just didn't think anyone would believe him. When it looked like he killed his father, maybe he just understood there's really no point in fighting this. But maybe it's also partially that whatever happened was really painful to him, and he didn't want to have to dredge all that back up. And so he just accepted, all right, this is where I am. I'll get free eventually. Because his response was, this is a cruel demand, brother. You want me to relive that event? And he does. We go into the flashback. Someone is coming from the sky. 14 years ago, we're at the castle. Chief Ural and Loki show up, and when they get to the castle, you know, they have this conversation about politics and about things changing. Loki doesn't agree with it. Ural's like, no, this is great. My granddaughter, she's cute. She's a pacifist. And Loki's like, no. Raise your children up to be warriors like what we believe in. Peace-addicted children with no idea of how to swing a weapon. So yeah, warriors. He doesn't want them to lose their warrior pride. So the two enter the castle. They're going to see King Harold, and the guards don't want Loki there. They're fine with Ural, but they don't want Loki there. And my question is it because they know that he could stop whatever is happening behind those doors, or is it because of the reputation that the alleged reputation that my memory may or may not be right about, that we just discussed? Is it that, oh no, it's Loki, not Loki, no, none of us like that guy? Or is it, oh, it's Loki, oh no, he can't see what's happening back here. You know, he's saying he needs to check with the king before he lets Loki in, and then Loki's like, no, he summoned me. This is my home. I have every right to enter there. But the guard is putting him off. He doesn't want Loki behind those doors, which is why that's why I lean towards the latter. Like, this guard knows what's happening behind those doors, and he just doesn't want Loki to see. Which, you know, doesn't work out because Loki kicks the man through the door and busts it open, and then we see what's happening here. It looks like he's turning, right? Like, does it not look like he's been reversing? Does it not look like he has been turned evil? His little piece on the board has flipped. I mean, maybe not, but Loki did say, oh, I know what you're talking about then. I know how to deal with this. What did he say exactly? In that case, I've experienced it before myself. The Holy Knights can be stopped. So it seems like he's had an experience with the Holy Knights before. He knows who they are and how to stop them, thanks to Gaban verbalizing it. So it seems like maybe the Holy Knights were here and turned Harold, and there's more to be told about what Loki saw here, because this is obviously a cutaway. After they see Harold like this, they see him being stabbed through by the guards, and then Loki's shouting, what's going on? As we expand on this scene in the coming weeks, are we going to see Holy Knights that have maybe just made some drastic changes on him? Of course, we know that he was a scumbag in his youth, but a lot can change in 20 years. So, you know, maybe he took the throne and he was a scumbag and a terror and terrible, but learned different and then was forced to go even worse. Cut to Gaban and Shanks, because we cut away from that scene, and Gaban says it's been 3 or 4 years. And Shanks says, no, the captain died 10 years ago. What are you on about? This is something that was pointed out to me by one of my patrons. One of the first Elbaf chapters, when we first enter Elbaf and we have the narrator's voice that's telling things in a storytelling style, says, everything is breathtakingly huge. Adventurers do not regret your lost time here. However, if there is one message you take away from my account of the gigantic and mythical land of Elbaf. Mystical. What does that say? Mystical land of Elbaf. I'm dyslexic. Let it be this word of warning. Do not overstay your welcome here. Okay. Do not regret your lost time here. And now here Gaban has lost time. Could be nothing, but, you know, it's probably not just, hey, he was kind of old even back then, huh? He forgets stuff. So funny. I mean, it could be just that time doesn't seem to be passing for him, because look at his wife. She looks exactly the same. People don't age very quickly in Elbaf. I don't think so. I feel like there was something more to it. So I don't know if, maybe it's nothing, but what if time actually does move differently here? Like, what if after we leave Elbaf and our Straw Hats think, wow, we spent a month here or a couple of weeks here, and then they leave and it's been a couple years? What if the world has changed a decent bit since they've been on Elbaf? Maybe lost time really is lost time on Elbaf, it's kind of like a fairy tale. Maybe not. Anyway, Shanks says, my plan was to join up with Buggy and lead a laid-back pirating life, but even here in Elbaf, there's so much more to learn. I love that his initial dream was to just live a chill pirate life with his boy Buggy. That just makes me so happy. But too much ambition, too much to be done. Also, Buggy holds a grudge. So, you remember Little Garden? The island where we met Dorian Broggie? Of course. You're a child of fate, Shanks? What do you mean? What do you mean? Do you mean that there's too much for you because of your lineage, because of where you come from, and there's too much that you need to accomplish? Do you mean your ambition leads you to, like, you're not the type that you would live a casual, chill life as a minor pirate? There's too much destined for you? Or are you actually talking about fated things? I don't know. In editing, I realized that I completely forgot to talk about Shanks' arm tattoo. I'm referencing where he comes from as if I've already spoken on it, but I just never talked about it in this video. So briefly, I know that the popular discussion is that this is the tattoo that would allow you to create a summoning circle and to move from place to place. It does seem underdeveloped to me. It doesn't seem like it's as prominent of a tattoo. So my current speculation that is baseless and nothing more than just a thought is that this is potentially a branding of a higher up family of the Holy Land of the Celestial Dragons that is potentially given at birth to identify where he comes from and familial status and inheritance, but not an all-access pass to the powers that be. That would be kind of a crazy thing to give someone at birth anyway, especially if you don't actually know where their loyalties are going to lie or what's going to happen to the person. That seems like something that would only be given to those who have completely committed themselves to servitude, to the one that would give them power to a dark power that the rest of the world shouldn't even know exists. So I'm not leaning towards this being an abyss tattoo. I don't think that this is actually giving him teleportation powers that gives him the summoning circle, all of that kind of stuff. I think that this is just a branding of heritage and of being a higher up, but not full ultimate powers of the dark force that most people don't even know about. I think that is a very specific brand that is given to only a very, very few. Again, this is just me like chatting about my thoughts, I don't have like anything to substantiate it other than the tattoo looks a little bit different from the ones that we've seen that are more drawn out. And at this point in the story, Luffy doesn't even have the devil fruit yet. So Luffy isn't even a child of fate yet. So it's something specific about Shanks, which makes me think that it's his heritage. It's where he comes from that makes him say, you're fated for something, lad. Like, and it's not gonna be chilling at sea with your friend. I don't know though. Please tell me what you think about that. Also, so much happens in this. Also, Shanks says that he met Harold in the Holy Land. And they didn't get a chance to talk about all the things that they want to talk about, that he wants to talk about, so he needs to see Harold again so that he can warn him about something before it's too late. Okay, so Harold's been to the Holy Land, which means that he is allied with the world government in some way, or has at least been called there to be propositioned for something. I don't know fully what it would be, and it seems like Shanks, who also is able to go back to the Holy Land, so this is not a Doflamingo situation, so he still is in somewhat good standing with his heritage at this point in the story. Maybe, possibly, he saw Harold there. Doesn't seem to have been a conflict, so it seems like, you know, he can return of his free will and not, it's fine. And maybe he has inside information about what they want to do with Harold, and he wants to warn him before he gets, you know, turned into an evil creature that's now lost his free will. I don't know. There's just so much to take from this, and I'm not sure if I'm even reading it right, but I'm very excited about what we're gonna learn. It's too much. On this day, there was a massacre in the castle, and the most beloved king in Elbaf history, wise King Harold, perished. We see some struggle, we see some blood, we see a sword go through a head, we see chains fall, we see a figure enter the treasure room, which has the forbidden devil fruit. I assume Luffy's fruit? I mean, I don't know, but this was really close after Shanks got Shanks apprehended the fruit from the world government, and it seems like the world government was here if they were the ones that turned Herald dark. So if the Holy Knights were here and they turned Herald dark, and then they stole the devil fruit, and then Shanks stole it from their ship because he was here and he saw what happened, and so he knew how to pursue for that ship. And maybe this is what Gaban was talking about. Maybe he was saying, no, like, you're destined for more than this, or for more than what you were thinking. And then this conflict happens, and then Shanks goes, you know what? I gotta follow that fruit. Like, I need to do some, I don't know. So it seems like the timeline to me, and I'm not gonna, I mean, forgive me if I sound like a fool. The timeline to me, it sounds like the Holy Knights arrived, turned Herald, stole the fruit that Herald was protecting, left, and then Shanks stole the fruit back, and, you know, and then, well, we know the rest of the story. But what was it that caused people to praise him so? For that, we must go far back in time to 109 years before the present. Oh, we're going 100 years back into the past? Tell me more. When the question of what is the most frightening thing on the sea. Okay, anyway, yeah, it was the warriors. It was the warriors of Elbaf, and then Herald, the little punk, tells his friend or somebody, hey, look in the window, there's a pretty girl. And he looks, and then Herald just smashes his face into the castle. That's so rude. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Herald, when he was 15, you know, relatively, the way we would perceive him maturity-wise, when he was 15, he inherited the throne. And was undeniably a low-life scumbag. And here he's mocking, I guess, the people that he's tormenting and saying, who is your god now? So there has definitely been an emphasis in Elbaf of people looking toward the sun god and emulating him and wanting to be like him and saying, like, this is who I perceive the sun god to be. He's this, no, he's this, he's that characteristic, he's that trait, and this is how I want to emulate him. And then we have Loki, who when we first introduced to him, he was calling himself the sun god, and now we have Herald who's calling himself a god as well. And we know that it is certainly possible that he allied himself with the world government, who calls themselves gods as well. Now, he may not have allied himself with the world government. It's very possible that he was just called to the Holy Land, and it was requested that he would ally with them, and he denied that, and that's why they then, you know, just took it into their own hands, and it's against his will that he was turned evil. I don't even know if I'm understanding any of this correctly, so please chat with me more in the comments. There's so much here, and a lot of it is implied or kind of hinted at, so it could be taken in several different directions, and also maybe I've just misunderstood stuff, so please talk to me more in the comments. All I know is that this is a really I'm excited about the next chapters. I think I hit most of the points though, so please chat with me more in the comments. I would love to hear how you're interpreting some of these things. I'll see you again soon. Bye.